Testing, testing. Hello, Chris. Thank you. Hello, Gregory. Welcome. All right. We'll get started. These days, I don't wait the 5 minutes for time, so I'll just get started with the chanting right now. Let's see. How about this? Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Arakatena kayena micchaditi gatena cha. Tina midda vibhutena vasangmarasa gacchati. Tasmarakita chittassa sammasankappa gocharo sammaditi purekaro natvana udaya bayang. Tina midda vibhubiku sabba dugatyo jayati. Sukarang sadhuna sadhu sadhu papena dukarang papang papena sukarang papang ariyehi dukarang. English? Blissful is detachment. Blissful is detachment for one who is content, for one who has learned the Dhamma and who sees. Blissful is freedom from anger in the world, restraint towards living creatures. Blissful is passionlessness in the world, the overcoming of sensual desires. But abolishing the conceit I am, that is truly the supreme bliss. All subjection to another is painful, full mastery is bliss. Partners share in affliction, bonds are difficult to overcome. Forsake bad destinations. With an unguarded body and encumbered by wrong views, overcome by lethargy and torpor, one goes along in the power of Mara. So let one's mind be guarded, let one's domain be right thought, by putting right view to the forefront, by understanding rise and fall, and by overcoming lethargy and torpor, a bhikkhu will forsake all bad destinations. For the good to do what is good is easy, For the bad to do what is good is difficult. For the bad to do what is bad is easy. For the noble to do what is bad is difficult. All right, friends. Oh, welcome, Chris's father, who met Bhante Gunaratana many years ago. I think I remember you telling me this a couple years back, Chris, actually. Hello, Maria. The lighting in this room is not the best because actually it's very low light in here. So the lighting for the Dhammapalooza is going to be um, suboptimal, but it'll do. So why don't we now do our meditation? So close your eyes and start to follow your breath. Remember, you don't need to manipulate or control the breath in any way. Breath is always doing its job. Your job is to simply observe and investigate the breath as the body is breathing in and out. All right, slowly open your eyes, coming out of the meditation. So I'm quite tired tonight. Last couple of days have been very busy. We had VASAC yesterday. Um, I've been kind of on this on the spotlight in terms of talks and answering questions and things like that since being here. So I think we're probably going to keep it short tonight. um, we'll read some, continue with our sutta reading. We'll end probably about 8 o'clock. So we'll do about a half hour. Let's see. We did the shorter discourse on the lion's roar, so now we're doing the longer one. The longer discourse on the lion's roar. So I have heard. At one time, the Buddha was staying outside the city of Vesali in the woodland grove west of the town. Now, at that time, Sunakata, the Lichavi, had recently left this teaching and training. Oh, he left the Buddhist teachings. He was telling a crowd in Vesali, the ascetic Gautama has no superhuman distinction in knowledge and wisdom worthy of the noble ones. He teaches what he's worked out by logic, following a line of inquiry, expressing his own perspective. And his teaching leads those who practice it to complete ending of suffering, a goal for which it's taught. That's interesting. So he's basically he's misrepresenting the Buddha here, by the way. Um, but he does say that the teachings lead to awakening, so the ending of suffering. Then Venerable Sariputta robed up in the morning and, taking his bowl and robe, entered Vesali for alms. He heard what Sunakata was saying. Then he wandered for alms in Vesali. After the meal, on his return from alms round, he went to the Buddha, bowed, sat down to one side, and told him what had happened. Sariputta, Sunakata is that futile man is angry. His words are spoken out of anger, thinking he criticizes the realized one. In fact, he just praises him. For it is praise of the realized one to say, his teaching leads to those who practice it to complete ending of suffering, the goal for which it's taught. So the Buddha doesn't get wrapped up in the fact that he's basically wrong in the other statements, but he does say, yeah, this leads to awakening. So he says, even though he was trying to criticize the Buddha, he praises him. But there's no way Sunakata will infer about me from the teaching. And he says, that blessed one is perfected. And this is the qualities of the Buddha, the Itipiso chant. That blessed one is perfected, a fully awakened Buddha. So the Sunakata cannot infer this from the teaching. Accomplished in knowledge and conduct, holy, knower of the world, supreme guide for those who wish to train, teacher of gods and humans, awakened and blessed. And there's no way for Sunakata will infer about me from the teaching. Hello, Shay. Welcome. That blessed one wields the many kinds of psychic power, multiplying himself and becoming one again, appearing and disappearing, going unobstructed through a wall, a rampart, or a mountain, as if through space, diving in and out of the earth as if it were water, walking on water as if it were earth, flying cross-legged through the sky like a bird, touching and stroking with the hand of the sun and the moon, so mighty and powerful, controlling the body as far as the realm of divinity. And there's no way Sunakata will infer about me from the teaching. That blessed one with clairaudience that is purified and superhuman hears both kinds of sounds, human and deva, whether near or far. And there's no way Sunakata will infer about me from the teaching. That blessed one understands the minds of other beings and individuals, having comprehended them with his own mind. He understands mind with greed as mind with greed. He understands mind without greed as mind without greed. He understands mind with hate, mind without hate, mind with delusion, mind without delusion, constricted mind, scattered mind. And these are all these are all from Satipatthana under Chitta Nupassana, understanding mind, aspect of the mind. Constricted mind, scattered mind, expansive mind, unexpansive mind, mind that is supreme, mind that is not supreme, mind immersed in samadhi, mind not immersed in samadhi, freed mind is freed mind, and unfreed mind is unfreed mind. There are these 10 powers of a realized one that the realized one possesses. With these he claims the bull's place, roars his lion's roar in the assemblies, and turns the divine wheel. What 10? Firstly, the realized one truly understands the possible as possible and the impossible as impossible. Since he truly understands this, this is a power of the realized one. Relying on this, he claims the bull's place, roars his lion's roar in the assemblies, and turns the divine wheel. Furthermore, the realized one truly understands the results of deeds undertaken in the past, future, and present in terms of grounds of causes, paticca samuppada, understanding causes, causes and conditions. Yeah. Since he truly understands this, this is a power of the realized one. Furthermore, a realized one truly understands where all paths of practice lead. Since he truly understands this, this is a power of the realized one. Furthermore, a realized one understands the world with its many and diverse elements. Since he truly understands this, this is a power of the realized one. Furthermore, the realized one truly understands the diverse convictions of sentient beings. Since he truly understands this, this is a power of the realized one. Furthermore, a realized one truly understands the faculties of other sentient beings and other individuals after comprehending them with his mind. Since he truly understands this, this is a power of the realized one. Furthermore, the realized one truly understands the corruption, cleansing, and emergence regarding the absorptions, liberations, immersions, and attainments. Since he truly understands this, this is a power of the realized one. Furthermore, the realized one recollects many kinds of past lives, that is, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100, 1,000, 100,000 rebirths, many eons of the world contracting, many eons of the world expanding, many eons of the world contracting and expanding. He remembers, there I was named this, my clan was that, I looked like this, and that was my food. This was how I felt pleasure and pain, and that was how my life ended. When I passed away from that place, I was reborn somewhere else. There too, I was named this, my clan was that, I looked like this, and that was my food. This was how I felt pleasure and pain, and that was how my life ended. When I passed away from that place, I was reborn here, and so he recollects his many kinds of past lives with features and details. Since he truly understands this, this is a power realized ones. Furthermore, with clairvoyance that is purified and superhuman, the realized one sees sentient beings passing away and being reborn, inferior and superior, beautiful and ugly, in a good place or a bad place. He understands how sentient beings are reborn according to their deeds. These dear beings did bad things by way of body, speech, and mind. They denounced the noble ones, they had wrong view, and they chose to act out of that wrong view. When their body breaks up after death, they're reborn in a place of loss, a bad place, the underworld, hell. These dear beings, however, did good things by way of body, speech, and mind. They never denounced the noble ones, they had right view, and they chose to act out of that right view. When their body breaks up after death, they're reborn in a good place, a heavenly realm. And so, with clairaudience that is purified and superhuman, he sees sentient beings passing away and being reborn, inferior and superior, beautiful and ugly, in a good place or a bad place. He understands how sentient beings are reborn according to their deeds. Since he truly understands this, this is a power of the realized one. Furthermore, the realized one has realized the undefiled freedom of heart and freedom by wisdom in this very life, and lives having realized it with his own insight due to the ending of defilements. I just actually was realized that this is actually quite a good sutta for Vesak month, a good sutta for the Buddha. Since he truly the ascetic Gotama has no superhuman distinction in knowledge and vision worthy of the noble ones, which is what Sunakana said in the beginning. He teaches what is worked out by logic. Again, what was said in the beginning. By logic, meaning that there's no experiential insight, it's just logically deduced. Following a line of inquiry, expressing his own perspective, i.e., it's just what he came up with, not truth, not reality. Unless they give up that speech and that thought, let go of that view, they will be cast down to hell. Oof. Not good. Not good thing to think about the Buddha. Just as a mendicant accomplished in ethics, immersion in wisdom, would reach enlightenment in this very life, such is the consequence, I say. Unless they give up that speech and that thought and let go of that view, they will be cast down to hell. Sariputta, a realized one, has four kinds of self assurance. With these, he claims the bull's place, roars his lion's roar in the assemblies, and turns the divine wheel. What for? I see no reason for anyone, whether ascetic or Brahmin, God, Mara, or Brahma, or anyone in the world, to legitimately scold me. It's interesting how Bhante Sujato doesn't translate Mara, but instead of just saying Brahma, says the divinity. That's kind of just like a lot of extra words. I don't know. Uh, Legitimately scold me, saying, "You claim to be fully awakened Buddha, but you don't understand these things. Since I see no such reason, I live secure, fearless, and assured. I see no reason for anyone, whether ascetic Brahmin, God Mara, or Brahma, maybe because he didn't want people to get confused with Brahmin, or anyone in the world, to legitimately scold me, saying, You claim to have ended all defilements, but you still have these defilements. Since I see no such reason, I live secure, fearless, and assured. I see no reason for anyone, whether ascetic or Brahmin, God Mara or Brahma, or anyone in the world, to legitimately scold me, saying, The acts that you say are obstructions are not really obstructions for the one who performs them. Since I see no such reason, I live secure, fearless, and assured. I see no reason for anyone, whether ascetic, Brahmin, God Mara, or Brahma, or anyone else in the world, to legitimately scold me, saying the teaching does not lead those who practice it to the complete ending of suffering, the goal for which it is taught. Since I see no such reason, I live secure, fearless, and assured. A realized one has these four kinds of self assurance. With this, he claims the bull's place, roars his lion's roar in the assemblies, and turns the divine wheel. When I know and see in this way, suppose someone were to say this: the ascetic Gotama has no superhuman distinctions in knowledge and wisdom, vision, worthy of the noble ones. Unless they give up that speech and that thought, let go of that view, they will be cast down to hell. Sariputta, there are these 8 assemblies. What 8? The assemblies of aristocrats, Brahmins, householders, and ascetics, the assemblies of the gods of the 4 great kings, the assemblies of the gods of the 33, the Devas, the assemblies of Maras, and the assemblies of divinities. These are the 8 assemblies. Possessing these 4 kinds of self assurance, the realized one approaches and enters right into these 8 assemblies. I recall having approached an assembly of hundreds of aristocrats. There, I used to sit with them, converse, and engage in discussion, but I don't see any reason to feel afraid or insecure. Since I see no such reason, I live secure, fearless, and assured. I recall having approached an assembly of hundreds of Brahmins, householders, ascetics, the gods of the 4 great kings, the gods of the 33, of Maras, of Brahmas. There, too, I used to sit with them, converse, and engage in discussion, but I don't see any reason to feel afraid or insecure. Since I see no such reason, I live secure, fearless, and assured. When I know and see in this way, suppose someone were to say this: the ascetic Gotama has no superhuman distinction and knowledge and vision worthy of the noble ones. So, just the fact that he's saying that he has sat with all these different beings it goes against any statement saying that he has no superhuman distinction, because being able to see and hear and engage with these beings is a superhuman distinction. Unless they give up that speech and that thought and let go of that view, they will be cast down to hell. Sariputta, there are these 4 kinds of reproduction. What for? Reproduction for creatures born from an egg, from a womb, from moisture, or spontaneously. And what is reproduction from an egg? There are beings who are born by breaking out of an eggshell. This is called reproduction from an egg. And what is reproduction from a womb? There are beings who are born by breaking out of an amniotic sac. This is called reproduction from a womb. And what is reproduction from moisture? There are beings who are born in a rotten fish, in a rotten carcass, in rotten dough, in a cesspool, or a sump. This is called reproduction from moisture. And what is spontaneous reproduction? Devas, hell beings, certain humans, and certain beings in the lower realms. This is called spontaneous reproduction. I'd like to understand the certain humans that are spontaneously reborn. That's interesting. I don't recall ever coming across that before. Hmm. Uh, what I know and see in this way, suppose someone were to say this, the ascended Gautama has no superhuman distinction in knowledge and vision worthy of the noble ones. Unless they give up that speech and that thought and let go of that view, they will be cast down to hell. There are these 5 destinations. What 5? Hell, the animal realm, the ghost realm, humanity, and the gods. That's interesting. Heaven, hell, animal, ghost, and human. That's kind of a small world compared to the, what is it, 20 something realms that come later. I understand hell and the path and practice that leads to hell. And I understand how someone practicing that way, when their body breaks up after death, is reborn in a place of loss, a bad place, the underworld hell. I understand the animal realm, the ghost realm, humanity, gods, and the path and practice that leads to the world of the gods. I understand how someone practicing in that way, when their body breaks up after death, is reborn in a good place, a heavenly realm. And I understand extinguishment and the path and practice that leads to extinguishment. And I understand how someone practicing that way realizes the undefiled freedom of heart and freedom by wisdom in this very life, and lives having realized it with their own insight due to the ending of defilements. When I've comprehended the mind of a certain person, I understand. This person is practicing in such a way and is riding upon such a path that when their body breaks up after death, they will be born in a place of loss, a bad place, the underworld hell. Sometime later, I see that they have indeed been reborn in hell, where they experience exclusively painful feelings, sharp and severe. Suppose there was a pit of glowing coals deeper than a man's height, full of glowing coals that neither flamed nor smoked. Then along comes a person struggling in an oppressive heat, weary, thirsty, and parched, and they have set out on a path that meets with that same pit of coals. If a person with clear eyes saw them, they'd say, "This person is proceeding in such a way and is riding upon such a path that they will arrive at that very pit of coals." Sometime later, they see that they have indeed fallen into that pit of coals where they experience exclusively painful feelings, sharp and severe. When I have comprehended the mind of a certain person, I understand this person will be reborn in an animal realm. Sometime later, I see that they have indeed been reborn in the animal realm where they suffer painful feelings, sharp and severe. So remember here, um, the hell realm is exclusively, so only painful feelings. Animal realm is painful feelings. So there are not, it's not just exclusively painful feelings, but they do experience these things. Oh. Suppose there were a sewer deeper than a man's height, full to the brim with feces. And then along comes a person struggling in oppressive heat, weary, thirsty, and parched, and they have set out on a path that meets with that same sewer. If a person with clear eyes saw them, they'd say, "This person is proceeding in such a way and is riding upon such a path that they will arrive at that very sewer." Sometime later, they see that they have indeed fallen into that sewer where they suffer painful feelings, sharp and severe. When I've comprehended, I think we will end here. So you got about 10 minutes left. Let me just save the spot here. I see there were some questions, at least from Gregory here. I have heard some teachers talk about aimlessness as a path of practice. Are you talking about in Theravada or like Zen, where that seems to be much more of a common thing? How does that work with the Buddha's exhortations on striving and make effort? There's really no aimlessness in the suttas. The Buddha does not kind of talk like that. There is such a thing as being too attached to a goal, right? You don't want to be overly attached to a goal is the more you overly attach to a goal, the less likely you are to get there. Like if you're attached to becoming awakened, it's going to be harder to become awakened. So there is that kind of aspect of having a goal, yet not being too attached to that goal. But I don't know about aimlessness. It's not something I'm familiar with in the suttas. Are there any particular days being celebrated empty cloud for Vesak? Yeah, yesterday. Yeah, Sunday. Vesak is in any one place is usually just one day. It's usually a Sunday, and if they share Vesaks with other monasteries close, like they go to each other's Vesaks and things like that, they'll plan like for the month that your Vesak is on that weekend, my Vesak is on this weekend, and then they'll go to each other's Vesak, kind of a thing. But it's usually just one day. I've never heard of it being anything more than that. All right. Well, I think we are good. We did our hour. We'll put up the website for those who might be seeing this, who are joining for the first time and they'd like to know more. You can go to the website listed on the screen. Right. Bring up the sharing of merit. And Gregory, I mean, technically I am eating well. It's just not. There's two interesting things in this place. I think because this is a very old house, mold, and there's all kinds of issues that suppress me a lot. Like I feel kind of low energy, and the vegetarian stuff also adds to that as well. I think I get a double whammy when I'm here. My energy is pretty low in general. But all right, let's see here. Dukkha patta chane dukkha, bhaya patta chane bhaya, sokha patta chane sokha, hontu sabbe pipaniyo, etavata cha mehi sampatang punya sampatang, sabbe deva anumodantu sapasampati siddhya, akasata chabumata deva naga mahiddika, punyang tang anumoditva, jarang rakantu sasanang. May the suffering ones be suffering free, and the fear-struck fearless be. May the grieving shed all grief, and may all beings find relief. May all beings share this merit of ours that we've thus acquired for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness. May beings inhabiting space and earth, devas, nagas, and yakas of mighty power, share in this merit of ours. May they long protect the Buddhist dispensation. Sadhu. Hello, Yankee. Goodbye, Yankee. All right, friends. So, Sukhi Hotu, may you be happy and at ease, practice well and be well, and may you have a spiritually successful and peaceful practice until we meet again, which, if I'm alive, should be next Monday for another Dhammapalooza. I'll still be here at Empty Cloud until the 15th, and then I will be with my family for 2 weeks, and then I'll be off to Abhayagiri. So the time for streaming for this year is drawing short. Well, we'll see. Depends if I get to stay the whole 5 months at Abhayagiri. If not, then streaming returns for the Vasa. All right, friends. Have a good day. Have a good week.